one-on-one with Arthur Margelidon. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty well. Finally out.
Right
Back
on,
to
right on,
training.
right on. So, Arthur, I want to start off first and foremost. Congratulations, you won a silver in Georgia and a bronze in Turkey. So I kind of want to know a little summary of each match. So let's start off at the Tbilisi Grand Slam back in late March on the 26th of March. That is, your first opponent was a Georgian, of course.
Yeah.
Last name Ginana. Tell us about this match.
Yeah, that guy is actually a guy I've known for quite a while. So like I fought him in junior and like we followed like he was not that much in the top of the Georgian team, but he was almost sent he was most sometimes sent in an international event, and since junior I never faced him aside from training. So like I knew it was going to be a pretty hard fight. So as the fight start, and it's a Georgian in Georgia, just at that point, it's gonna be not the ref on your side. So you have to do extra to actually get the win. So I uh, I started by I wanted to work a lot. Like I started that tournament mostly thinking about like the future. So I wanted to do well, obviously, but like I wanted to prepare that towards the games that are happening this summer. So it was like as a warm up, but also a tournament that I wanted to do well. So when I first faced that guy, I was like, okay, hard fight. And I worked a lot on the tomoenage in
Yes.
training prior to that tournament. So tomoenage is a technique where you throw yourself on the back and try to make the other guy follow. So you can see in that fight that I did quite a lot of those throw, and ended up like pretty much dominating that Georgian, and went a little easier than I thought. Actually, I thought it was going to be a really like hard fight, which it was, but like a little easier than I thought. I ended up like pretty much dominating the guy on the attacks, on the grips, and I didn't let the other guy install his game.
Right.
So as I install my judo, like I don't really let the other guy express himself. So I ended up making him take three penalties in a row. So it started the day pretty much on the right foot.
Right on. I have two questions for you. First one, you're in Georgia, you're fighting a Georgian. What does that mean and feel like? And were you in any way kind of you knew this opponent, as you mentioned, you fought him in your junior years.
Mhm.
Were you intimidated? What was the vibe like going into Georgia? I guess is what I'm asking. And the follow up to that, our second question is: you mentioned a technique that you've been drilling. Why that particular throw?
Okay, so starting off with the first one, like facing a home guy is always, you can say, harder because you always know that, like, without really wanted it, like the ref are always a little on the side of the home guy. But at the same time, I was ranked number one. So there's also some, how you can say that, like,
Tu peux le dire en français if you want.
yeah, avantage, a little
Yeah, and then
advantage towards my side. So I knew it was going to be a hard fight because it's a Georgian guy in Georgia, and the
right,
stands were going to cheer for him. There were not a lot of people, like
right,
pretty much only athletes that were competing, but like still. So you always know it's gonna be a hard fight. Like you're not always gonna get the ref on your side, but like my mindset was pretty much to just um, go out there and not let anything bother me. Prior to that tournament, there were quite a lot of things that like went in my head and like could have set me off. But like I really was focused on that tournament to just say, okay, I'm gonna show what I'm made of, and I just like did like I did my judo. I imposed my style. I imposed my philosophy. I imposed my rhythm. So everything I did during that tournament and facing that first guy was imposing my thing. So I didn't let anything bother me. So it could have been like the world champion in front of me. It was going to be like the same mindset, and it's the kind of mindset that I want to have towards the game too. So it was a nice how you call it nice uh, start, like nice
Yeah, yeah.
try, like nice warm up. Let's now. I feel
Right.
I find my word as I talk.
Fair enough. No, I can relate. Now, and you're also, the second question was in regards to a new technique you've been working on, which I've actually seen you hit also in Turkey as well, and you've been drilling that more and more. To tell us about it.
Yeah,
Why that throw?
yeah. I don't know why. It's like I do a lot of Uchimara, which is my most used technique, I can say. And it's a nice combination because as the guy react towards a Uchimara, which is a forward technique, and standing, the guy has a tendency to open, like by like putting his body outside. So as he think I'm doing my technique, I can actually go under him, and it surprised them a little. And I worked it a lot with Constantin Gaboun, another athlete from the national team, which is like my partner right now towards the games. So, and he's having a really, really good tomoe nage. So I always asked him like, hey, how you do it? How can you enter it better? Why is it working better this way? Why is that? So we worked a lot on it like prior to that tournament, and he was on my group in the bubble that we had before those tournaments. So I worked a lot of it on it with him, and paid off at the tournament. Like I in that fight, I won the fight on that. So like it's a nice combination with my throw, and yeah, set it off the right way.
It sure did. Now, of course, I've noticed that you're talking about a particular mindset going in, and we see that in Georgia in your matches. You are completely in your zone, in your element, and I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit about that as we break down the matches, because we could see there's like a buildup of that forward momentum and that confidence and that just relentless pace that you've put on your opponent. In round number 3, you fought Spanish judoka Casillas Roca, excuse me, and you won the match via Uchimara. Speak to us about that match.
Yeah, so I knew that guy. Like as I said at the beginning, that mindset is a warm up towards the game. It's something I experienced in the past at the Master in 2018. It's when I like the thing is, I think we can't always be at the top of our form, but there's certain time where you can put that mindset in and like actually like give everything you actually get in your body, and you have to work uh, that that mindset and that like that way of fighting towards like the big event. And I don't think like if I didn't work on it before the games, it would have been a complete different things, and like I wouldn't have been able to use it properly.
Mm.
So I actually like experienced it the first time in the Master in 2018, where I finished second, and I actually beat Hashimoto, reigning like um, vice world champion. So yeah, it's just like I don't let anything bother me, and I just go out there first to have fun, prove what I'm made of, and like just not letting anything like bother me, like any little things. Every single thing that could go bad in a day, I just say, okay, it happens, whatever, deal with it, and that's it. So I followed up the same way with my second fight against that Spanish guy that I already beat in the past in Zagreb 2019, I think. And I knew he was a tough opponent, but like I knew I could beat him since I did it in the past. And I just waited for the right moment, keep the pace up. He took 2 Shidos. I kept going with that Tomoe Nage because he was reacting pretty bad on the Uchimara, and he was actually like, I knew he was waiting for that good moment to counter that Uchimara. So I worked on that, and as the fight went on, though, at one point he pinned my sleeve, and I was winning by 2 Shidos. I just did couple attack; it was golden score. So it was either the next point win or the next Shido win, or if he takes a Shido, I'm winning. and I had couples attacks. So he tried to go on the back, and as he went on the back, I worked on another kind of uchimata that I was working on at training, and it paid off. He went on the back. I just pulled the sleeve down and like just stretched his body and lifted the leg. And since I'm pretty much one of the tallest guy in the category, he just went over and scored Wizari on that technique.
How tall are you?
I'm a 181.
What's that? 5'9"? 5'11". Oh yeah. Sorry. Right on. So you won that match and you moved on against Yuldoshev. And this was I found a tough and entertaining. Like there's a lot of energy there in the body language and in the match. Obviously, speak to us about this match and this opponent here. I think he's from
Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's at the beginning of the tournament, it was the side of Bouchard, the other Canadian in the 73s. So at the beginning of the tournament, I was expected to face Bouchard in the quarterfinal, but he lost to him. So I fought that guy. I had some insight from the fight he did with Bouchard, obviously. So I took advantage of those mistakes that he did in his fight, and was aware of like actually what he was made of. And that guy actually did well in Tashkent Grand Slam that was happening a couple weeks before in Uzbekistan. So I knew he was not like a bad guy. He was a tough guy. He was going to be a hard round, and Uzbekistan are always fighter. Right. So they're gonna go until they can't give anything else. So I started the fight the same way as my mindset being, I'm winning that fight. There's nothing that can bother me. He almost surprised me on the first sequence. I moved a little towards the wrong way, and he took like that split second where I had the moment of not awareness. He catched me, and I always went over, but like was aware enough to not fall on my back. I actually like just fell on my butt, and continued the fight, pushed the pace. I don't remember if he took 2 Shidos. I think we were 2-1 as we were going into the last minute of the fight, and I felt a grip that was a nice moment to go on a Kataguruma.
Right.
So I kind of stuck him in the cross arm. So as he was not in his best position, I just took advantage of that moment to surprise him on an attack that I'm not doing that often.
Right.
So I think he was as surprised as me when I entered that technique.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely surprised. His reaction after that's kind of, said it all for sure.
Yeah, and I think he was like, actually, like, you get scored and like there's still a minute to go. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna get up and like deal with it. But I took advantage of that position to try to work on the Newaza. I went working on the Newaza like for the last minute. I tried the choke, then I tried the armbar, rolled him over. I don't know how he didn't tap on that armbar, but like I had him completely extended, and I even put his arm on the side of my body, and I think his wrist was almost touching the ground. I don't know how he didn't tap on that. I hurt myself. I cranked that arm so bad that I actually hurt myself. So
that's incredible that he didn't tap, and we'll see that in the video. But it seemed this guy had a lot of fighting spirit, right? He didn't want to tap out or give up. But
I didn't want to give up. But like at one point, like there's a choice to be made. Like, do you want to, like, because at that point we were in quarterfinals. So if he wins or if he loses, he has still to repêchage and he can still get the bronze. So I don't know, like he ended up fighting pretty well in the repêchage. So maybe he has some like an arm that bends both sides. I don't know.
Oh yes, that's possible. Have you fought him? You fought him before, no?
No, never that guy. I fought like many Uzbek guy, but this guy was a first. Okay. I think it's a new guy that's like starting to come up. Like I've never seen him before until that tournament in Uzbekistan. But he's now fighting pretty much all the tournament. He fought at the Asian Championship after.
Yeah, it was certainly as a spectator, I found it a very entertaining match. But as for you, this is your third match. You've won it. What's your mindset like? What's your coach telling you? Where are you at right now at this point? How are you feeling?
Well, my mindset is like when I'm really focused like that. It's like just take it one thing at a time. I don't want to think about the final already. I don't want to think about like I don't want to think about the fight I'm gonna have. Maybe who's gonna be in front of me. I'm winning that fight. I'm happy for 2 seconds. Then I turn around and I look at who I'm fighting next, and it was actually Yartsev or. The Georgian Lasha Shavdatashvili that was fighting together. So I turned around, watched that fight, and just looked at who was winning. Ended up being Yartsev. So my mindset is like I live in the present moment. I don't think at past events. I don't look at forwards after that fight. I just stay in the present. And I think this is the best way to make my best results.
How do you manage? And of course, you're an international competitor. You're an elite athlete. You train, you compete. This is your way of life. But for people outside of that bubble, like myself and other fight fans, just being honest here, just hearing that sounds incredible, but also challenging. Just being honest, how do you remain calm? How do you stay in the moment? What are some of the things you do, the tactics, the rituals, especially when you're in competition and there's all that lag time or that waiting around for the next round? How do you stay there? How do you stay in the moment?
So well, it's something you work on a lot. Like I have like I say like I don't know if the same word in English. I would say sports psych maybe like
Yes.
yeah.
A sports psychologist. Yeah.
So I work a lot on those things with him, and I've been working with him since I was I would say junior, and he's been helping me a lot to. We passed through all those phases. I passed through the time I was a new guy that was expecting to do not so good, like like you're just the guy that can surprise. So I started by being that guy that can surprise. Then I was that guy that like was doing better with the guy that were on the top and had trouble with the guys that were like below me. So below me, in that sense, I mean like just expect me to win against them. Then I went to the point where I was actually winning against many guys and still having trouble with guys that I'm supposed to beat. And now I'm at that point where the top 5 of the world, where like you actually have to perform whoever is in front of you. Like you, even if you're like, I wouldn't say expected to win, but like once you know yourself that you can win, you put pressure on yourself more because all those guys, you beat them. You also know they can beat you because at that level everybody's beatable. Like there's and you were that guy that were beating that. I was the guy that was beating those top guys before, so I know that in their mindset their goal is to beat me and my goal is to just stay in front and keep my position. So it's like I went through all those phases with my sports psych, and he's been helping me a lot with those small techniques to just stay in the moment. Like as I say, stay in the moment. It's not something hard. Like it's like someone that's stressed, you tell him hey, stop stressing. Like it's not as easy as that. Like you have to actually find some things that correspond to you. So for me is concentrating on the moment present, is breathing, feeling my position in the space. Like I actually think about what is going to happen now. I'm preparing for a fight. I think about all the things I have to do during that fight. I like, even though I think about the fight that is in the future, for me it's staying in the moment present because it's the next thing I have to do. And as I step on the mat, I have a ritual that I always do. And if people see my fight, you're going to see that before going on the mat, I always do those same things. It's the same way I enter the mat. And it's kind of a thing for me keep myself, how you call it, like calm and
And
focused.
centered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
even the way you bow, I noticed
Yeah.
you're bowing. It's like very deliberate. The intent is there, and you're looking right at your opponent, and
Mhm.
it's very obvious that you're in your zone.
Mhm.
So right now, you're obviously going into the semifinals against Yartsev, and speak to us about this match here.
So that guy is a guy that I have been going back and forth with him. I've beat him. He's beat me. Then I've beaten him to an access to a final in China. Then he beat me at the time I wanted him the less to beat me, which was at the World Championship in 2019. That was a hard blow to me. And going through that fight, I was just saying to myself, that guy beat me, but I'm going to show that I should have beat him. And he did third at that World Championship. So I wanted to show to myself that I was able to beat the guys that make the medal and that I could have made that medal. So as I entered that fight, I just stayed focused, remembered how he beat me and not what not to do. So I knew if I was going to accelerate a little too much or put myself in unbalance, he was going to capitalize on that moment. So it's just focusing on putting my hands at the right spot, uh, keeping my posture, keeping distance, and not do attacks just to do attacks. Like actually having a purpose to throw. And he actually like almost catched me on an attack I did halfway, kind of like I did an Uchimara, and he kind of turned me, and I don't know how I got out of that, but like it's just like I let go at the right moment, and I finally went out. And that exchange where we both have sleeves together, I know he's like leaning backwards, so I feel that, and I feel that if I make him react forward, he's gonna go even more on the back. So as I pull him to go a forward take, like I just make a feint of going forward, but I go directly backward on my attack, and he really bite on that one, and he just went flying. Like honestly, like, and I just kept driving and pushed him on the back. So I had something to prove to myself, and I did it. So I'm pretty happy about that fight.
One question in regards to that, I think your coach, I could hear your coach saying readjust the shoulder. What was that about? What was that exchange about?
In the semifinal against Yartsev.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because like I don't remember exactly the moment, but like I know sometimes I have a tendency of like leaning the forward. So if I lean forward, I'm actually putting myself in the front and unbalanced towards uh, the front, and that's how he catched me in the at the World Championship.
Right.
So to prevent that, I actually have to stand like backward and put that shoulder back. As I'm standing straight like that, there's not much he can do. So, and I'm safe, and I'm showing a dominant posture. So probably that's what he was meaning by that. And Sasha has a pretty good way of like I have a good relationship with him to not have those big explanation to tell me what to do. It's just small talk that like at the Mateys where I can just um, click and pass to the next sequence, because we don't have a lot of time. We have like maybe 5 seconds to hear our coach, and then it's right back on. So it's like we have a good communication and relationship towards the tournaments.
How important is that good communication and that good rapport with the coach?
I think it's really important because you have to know that the coach that's coaching you is actually trusting your abilities. So the talk I have with Sasha, he told me like we're gonna work together towards bringing you where you need to go. And like he trusts my judo. I trust his strategy on and his way of coaching with me. It's not for everybody. Like, of course, like some people prefer other people. Some prefer some people like to be pushed and yelled at. Some people
Right.
prefer to be like told nothing, and some people just need a little. So it just a way to find um, the good way to tell the coach how you want to be coached. And having a good relationship with the coach is, of course, super important, because you're fighting and he's there to help you. Like, if you see it as a how you call it, like a hurdle,
Right.
it's you have to fight against the coach and the guy in front of you. So yeah, you have to be okay with how the guy is helping you. He's on your
Right.
side. He's not against you.
Big time, for sure. And now, of course, after this match, you're in the final. And what sort of advice or strategy are you and your coach sharing here at this point, leading into to the final? What's going on?
There was not much said during that little during that time, because I've faced that guy, I've beat that guy, and a lot of what was said is like I have a tendency of losing in finals, and my goal was just go get it. So uh, we went, and he was just like, "You just go get that gold. Like you know what to do. Like I don't have to tell you anything. We have a game plan on against that guy. You just go and do what you have to do." And as I fought that guy, when like, despite the fact that like obviously like probably everybody's gonna see it, I lost that fight. Um, I
And you fought the Mongolian Sen Ochir Sogbatar, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy I faced, and he won the tournament previous to that one. So it was his second goal in 2 weekends, 3 weekends, because there was a break in the middle. But like there have been many a time in my career where I actually like went off of a tournament not having the result I wanted, but actually being happy about the way I did that tournament. And that was one of it. Like, although like of course I'm not happy about losing that fight against the Mongolian, but in my head I was like, hey, it's sometimes like it's like anything, like sports, the guy in front of you wanted it just as much as you wanted. So
Right.
sometimes it's just the other guys there. And like I did pretty well. I could have get 2 scores. I was winning with the Shidos, and I just did that little mistake. I think I had to do one more attack, and he was actually taking a Shido, but like he catched me at the right moment with that coach Gary, and like I went over, and like I'm not often getting scored on direct throws. It's mostly most of the time I get counters or or Shidos, but he catched me well. He caught me well on that one, so I have nothing to say. I did my best. I went and tried to surprise him with some drops. I'm not a guy that drops a lot. Uh, I did a couple drops on that fight. He almost went over a couple times. I went under. I threw him. I countered him, but like sometimes it's just not your like you just. It was not meant to be, and I'm just seeing it as my medal. My gold medal is obviously at the games.
Right on. And I mean, there was a lot of back and forth in that match. A
Yeah.
lot of there was a lot of intensity, and it was quite entertaining. And you could tell, like both, as you mentioned, both competitors,
Mhm.
yourself and your Mongolian opponent, both wanted it the most. And what if what's the main takeaway for you in that match? You fought him before, you had mentioned. What's that main takeaway, or the lesson learned for you in that match?
It's it's easy when I say don't make mistakes, but
Right, right,
but like it's the like just keep doing the same thing that I did during that fight, and like limiting the amount of mistakes you do. Like it's all about, like, in judo, especially at that level, it's all about like catching the guy when he has a moment of weakness. And it's just like staying in the moment, being focused on what you have to do, and not putting yourself in the position where the guy can actually take advantage of it, is the main takeaway from that. It's something I knew in the past, but like against guys like him, he's pushing for that mistakes to get you. They're pretty smart. So it's just like keeping to my game plan, continue to do the same thing that I was doing prior to that mistakes, and keep going.
And it's interesting because in during the entire day, all your previous matches, you could see this you have this calm intensity about you, very very calm, very focused, very determined in the way you move, relentlessly attacking, even on the ground with the Inuwaza and all that. You're just all over your opponent. But you could tell. I just want to say at the end of this match, there's a moment where we see the intensity not calm anymore, and we could just see that flash of just raw emotion. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot asking you this, but it was very like even your opponent turned around and that caught him. What were you feeling at that particular moment? Was it frustration? Was it just what happened? What was that?
Yeah, like that.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot like that. It's just it was very dramatic. I was like,
No.
wow, because I've watched all the matches for that day, and that whole time there was this calm intensity, this relentless pace, and then you could see the build up, and this is the final match, and then there's an explosion that happens.
Yeah, it's just like I was as I said, I was like containing everything and like just pushing it aside and just like doing what I had to do to win that fight. And like, it's just, I think the frustration of doing everything right and like still, like, as I said, I have a tendency of losing in those finals. And this time I really didn't. Like, sometimes you go in a final and you're like, okay, like I'm in the final, I have the medal, like you won it, but like you're not having the same intensity. But that time it was really, really not a time like that. I was really, really focused. I wanted that gold medal. I wanted to show that I could get that gold medal. And it's just like I did everything right, aside from that little mistake. And just seeing that again, I was losing so close from the goal was really, really frustrating for me. And it just went on. Like, I don't know, honestly, what went on. It just maybe just frustration and just like a same reaction as if you win a fight. Sometimes there's emotion that come off that usually don't. And it was just like frustration from not getting what I actually came there for. So it was frustrating, but at the same time, as I said, it's if I get that gold medal, when I'll get that gold medal at the games, all that will be pushed aside, and I'll have what I actually won.
Right on. And I mean, congratulations to you again. Obviously, you've won the silver medal. You made the podium, and at a very key, important time. And literally about less than a week after the Tbilisi Grand Slam, you guys are in Turkey for the Grand Slam in Antalya.
Yeah.
Speak to us about that. Now we're going to shift over to that. Your first opponent is Levin Aido from Israel. Speak to us about that match.
He actually, like, it's actually funny because he's fighting a lot like a guy that I used to fight at the National Training Center. His name was Warren Sieb, and like he had that similarity to him, and which I'm actually grateful for, like the training I had with that guy, because I realized that he was pushing me towards some limit of frustration, because of that guy that, despite that you're doing the right thing, is always in your face and coming at you, and you have to thank those guys, because they're there and there you have to take advantage of those openings. And as I fought that guy, I saw some similarities to that guy. So I knew actually what to do. I put my grip. I didn't let myself being disrupted by anything that was happening with his intensity coming on me, like jumping, like going high, not staying to a standard grip. He was going high, pushing me. After the meta, he was jumping back on me. Took advantage of that, throw like I threw him on Uchimara. Then I foot sweeped him. They didn't count it, but like then we continued and I catched him eventually in the Newaza. And I actually catched him a couple times too during that. Almost catched him a couple times during that fight with some Morodes, Senages, Uchimara, like Tomoinage. I think almost scored on him, but like I only scored him once. And finally, I catch him Newaza on the movement that I've been working on for quite a while.
Speak to us, he was certainly very aggressive, as you mentioned. It appears so. He was in your face all the time, continuously. And I think he was a bit taller than you. He's probably like 6'1", 6'2", or something like that. And he's got very long reach. Now, what I want to know is what happened in that sequence on the ground there? Because break it down for us.
Yeah. So I actually went. He's actually taller than me, and that's actually something surprising because I'm one of the tallest guy in that category. But yeah, so
yeah, I think he's about he looks like he's about 6'2" or something.
Yeah,
Very tall.
tall. I was surprised when I saw someone taller than me because as I said, I'm the tall guy, and I'm one of the guys that has that is limit for the weight. So being taller is like he was pretty skinny, but like still he was a tall guy. And so that sequence on the ground, I actually used that Tomoinage where I almost scored, Yoko Tomoinage. Then he was trying, because his goal was to stand up and actually continue the fight Tachiwaza, because it's his best way of winning the fight. Like, because he has to throw me at that point. He can't just wait around Newaza and lose time. He has to actually score on me because I was winning by a Wazari. So as he was trying to get up, I had my grip that actually my girlfriend showed me. Like, it's one of her special moves, and it was actually funny. Like, I could finally use it on the tournament.
Right on.
So yeah, I used that technique, and as he was trying to stand up, I just rolled under him and rolled him over. And as he tried to go on the wrong side, I just moved over him, and he catched my leg. I don't remember if he catched my leg, but maybe he catched or maybe he didn't. But I finally like just moved on the side and caught him on the Newaza, and like I think he just tapped because it was done. And I felt the need of putting back that Y on the floor. I don't know why. Like, there was a Y.
I was confused. For a second, I thought like you were fixing something or whatnot. And what confused me as well. So obviously you're working for a pin or Zikone, right? But it looked as if he tapped from. I'm like, were you choking him, or was it almost like an anaconda variation sort of choke? Do you know what I mean? But then he just tapped out of, I guess, exhaustion, frustration, who knows what. You win the match. And from there, what's the mindset like? Are you still in that same zone as you were in back in Georgia?
Yeah, I was in the same mindset. I was pretty much in the same mindset. Yeah, I would say I wanted to actually win those tournaments. Like I knew I could. It just was a matter of like doing it. And like, so I went in that fight after saying like, okay, I have another fight. And as I said, to stay in the moment, I don't see a 2-3 fights forward. I stay in the fight I have next. So I watched the guy that fought after me, saw the guy who I was fighting, which was a Turkish guy from the place. Didn't know the guy, so I didn't know really what to expect, aside from the fact that he wanted to show good things in front of his people probably. So I just like stay in the moment, kept my calm, and went on to the next fight. So as I don't remember the name of the guy.
Yeah, it's Umalt Demirel.
Okay.
Demirel is that last name. Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually caught the guy Newaza. So I was like, okay, maybe I have to be careful Newaza. Um, but as I entered the fight, I just focus on simple things. I don't know the guy. I know he's a righty because I saw the fight prior to mine, and I just said, okay, put your hands and do what you have to do because that's the main key for me. If I impose what I'm able to do, that's when I do best. If I actually wait and deal with what the guy is bringing me, I'm not doing what I'm good at. So I just said, put your hands on him. So I put my hands on him and started the fight, and it ended up being pretty one-sided fight. Uh, I I kept my calm, did my things. He attacked on one head once. I felt like I could counter him if I had this sleeve, and he tried the same thing, and I just countered him. Then went on further. He kept trying to do the same thing. He went high on one time and whacked me in the back of the head. So it was not that pleasant, but like, hey, it's a combat sport, so
Right.
it can always be nice. So yeah, so then I went another time on that Tomoe Nage, which brought the fight on the Newaza. Thought I could have scored on that one because I continued the movement, but they didn't score it. I kept my calm, focused on what I had to do, went on the Newaza and catched him again on Newaza. So two first fight winning by pin was pretty good. I know I can win a lot of fights in the Newaza, but yeah, it was just good to get some wins on the Newaza.
In terms of percentile and ratios as to how how some people tend, it's more like 70-30 stand up and ground, sometimes you have 50-50. What would you say your investment or your ratio would be from stand up and ground? Because, and I ask that because it seems to me like you're comfortable just about anywhere, quite frankly, with someone who's strong on the grappling. And just as a side note, do you cross train? Have you grappled with any wrestlers or sambo players or jiu-jitsu players? Have you had that crossover, that cross training?
I've did some, not officially, but like I've watched a lot of, like, sometimes just some my cat is waking up.
Your cat?
Yeah, my cat just cried.
That's awesome, man. Let's say hi to your cat.
He's hungry, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I tried a lot of, like, I did some with some jiu-jitsu guy. I fought with some jiu-jitsu guy, but I wouldn't say I actually like train officially in jiu-jitsu. But I have a friend that's pretty good jiu-jitsu, and he's working in Abu Dhabi right now. But before that, he was living in Canada, and he helped me with some movement. And I tried to. I'm seeing judo as something that you can learn from anyone. Anyone can bring you something, which it could be like the grip, newaza, one technique, anything. So every time I see something that I could put, like, I will call it my arsenal. I ask, and I actually like study how I could integrate that in my judo. So as the close fight, sometimes I fight with that Constantin Gaboon is really good on the close fight, and he, like, wrestling wise, because like he's Moldovan from he's Moldovan, so he's really good on those clinch. I work a lot on those clinch with him. Really good Newaza people. I work Newaza with him, and I try to defend myself. I try to catch them. So I wouldn't say I have a 50-50 or 70-30, but like I'm really comfortable anywhere the fight goes. And that's one of my strengths, I think, because there's not a way where people can say, okay, if you bring that guy on the Newaza, you're gonna catch him. If someone brings the Newaza, I know what to do. If someone's standing with me, I know what to do. So I'm pretty comfortable anywhere on the fight. But I wouldn't mind trying a little jiu-jitsu maybe to just put a little. But now with the restriction, it's completely impossible to do that. So
yeah, no, it's interesting. Essentially you have a very well balanced game, as you're saying. You know, you're willing to go everywhere, and you know, it's interesting too, because once your opponents know, as you're mentioning, you're talking about Levin earlier on in round number 2, your first match.
Yep.
He was strictly stand up. He didn't seem like he wanted to engage much in the ground, and I know that sometimes that's a liability, right, for some competitors, because their opponents are going to exploit them as where their weaknesses are. But now, leading into the quarterfinal against Cass Giron, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing
this. I don't know how to say it.
I think it's a Flemish name or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
It's a Flemish. Yeah, exactly.
From Belgium. Speak to us about this match. This was a really, like, you know, obviously people watch the match from beginning to the end, but you know, if you do some editing, you see this clip, you want to use the finish because it was spectacular.
Yeah.
So build up, tell us the story. You know, tell us how you set that up, but from the beginning of the match, and I think you fought him before, because there's obviously, have you fought him before?
No, I've fought him in training. I've known him from training fight and like training camps, which something that seems so far now, because we're not allowed to do those camps, and there's no more. So, but yeah, I used to fight him a lot in camps, and like I knew it was a guy that was going to be annoying, but I'm a sometimes, like, people think like training Arthur is the same as Arthur in competition, but I am completely different. Like the way I fight in the training is to get better. The way I fight in the tournament is to win. So there's two different mindsets, and that's why, like, sometimes people think, oh, it's going well at training, like, and sometimes even me, I'm surprised, because I'm saying like, oh, that guy, have a lot of trouble with him in training, which was the case with Cassie a little sometimes. And I end up fighting him in tournaments, and it goes super easy and super smooth. So leading to that fight, like, yeah, it was, I knew it was going to be a hard fought fight. But like I said before, I just installed my judo, put my hands. I took 2 penalties. I took 1. And I was leading up to that throw at the end, because you only see that clip. You say, oh, he killed him, but actually, no, it was a fair fight until that moment. And I actually, like, not even wanted to throw him on that thing. I was like, I did 3 sequence with attack, so my goal was just to make another attack before the golden score, so that he get the Shido, and I don't have to do 2 more attack to make him get a Shido. So I knew I could throw him. I knew I could make him take a Shido, but you know, you always rather finish the fight earlier than like keep it going, and eventually maybe making a mistake. So as I just went for that, like, attack, he just got close, and I just felt like, oh, his feet are off the ground, and I just turned. He went high, like literally, I think he did it like straight up in the air, and just finished that throw. And I almost lost him in the air, because like I pumped him high, and I don't know where he is at a certain point, and I just like grabbed what I can, turned him the right way, and threw him on the back. So it was a nice throw to have.
Man, it was spectacular, man. It was spectacular. It was changing hip throw, and it was the way he landed. It was very, like, it was spectacular, but it was also like it made an impact. You know,
Yeah.
At least I think from the viewer's perspective, you literally slam dunked your opponent.
Yeah.
Right on the back. Well, I mean, that's how it looked like, or maybe not slam dunk, or maybe like a touchdown in football when
Yeah, like
and you strike it down. I'm not trying to be disrespectful
no, no,
to
no. Of course,
opponent.
of course.
He was very, very tough, as
Mhm.
you mentioned. He was very familiar with you, it seemed,
Yeah,
and he was just antagonizing. I don't know if it would be appropriate to say that, but it seemed like he was antagonizing you throughout the match, and you caught him and ended it in a spectacular,
yeah,
entertaining way,
yeah.
leading into the semi-final against, of course, the Italian Fabio Basili. Speak to us about this match here and about Fabio.
So that fight, if I said that I did the best fight I could have done against him, I would lie. Um, I knew that guy from obviously he's Olympic champion in 66 kilos, so
Right.
everybody know him. But like the way he fights is the kind of people I should never lose to, because
Why do you say that? Sorry, please continue. Please continue.
yeah, so because the way he fight is like waiting for an opportunity to attack. Like he's not creating himself the opportunity. He's actually like doing a lot of nothing to throw you. And I'm not saying that because he, like I say, not as good. He's a super athlete. He's a really, really good judoka. Yeah, he won the tournament and he won the Olympic Games. So he's obviously a really tough opponent. But like, I think personally, I'm better than him. And I have a lot of people that told me after that, like actually people from international, like my good friend from Belgium, Sami Chuchi, told me after that, like I sh- I did a bad fight against him.
Mm.
I didn't do a fight that I should have to win. Um, I thought too much about how he could catch me, so prevent some stuff instead of actually doing as I'm doing usually and imposing my style. So and you can see at sometimes during the fight, I'm actually like imposing what I have to do. Like I'm at one point I take his sleeve, take his back, and he's literally bending himself alone and throwing himself on the ground because he doesn't know what to do, which is the strategy I should have done throughout all the fight. But if you only put one or two sequence like that, you're not winning a tournament. You're not winning the fight like that. You have to actually impose that way throughout all the fight, and that's what I didn't do. So he catch me at a vulnerable time. I was surprised as much as he was probably to throw me that way. It was the end of the fight, so he catch me in the back of my knee, and he just completely surprised me. Like I don't know, and went over, twisted, and fell on my back. But actually, I think I remember a part in the fight where I actually threw him pretty hard, but I didn't control him. I think I tried too much to put him over my head.
Mm-hmm.
He did a bad attack, and I grabbed him, and I was in the perfect position to throw him.
Yeah,
And I tried too much to go over my head instead of just like maybe putting him a little on the side and get the smaller score and just keep that score. But tried to end it up this way. So and he ended up catching me. So yeah, you fight and you learn.
Right now, if you were to fight him again, what would be? And I know you've just answered it, but I'll ask you
Yeah.
again. What would be the strategy, or how would you approach him differently? You mentioned, I guess you're saying, you were insinuating that he's a counter fighter. He's not necessarily someone he's more focused on countering his opponent than imposing his own
Well, he
offensive.
imposes style, and he's not countering in that much. It's mostly like he he waits for you to make a mistake, or he off the grip is gonna attack you without you um, expecting it. So I wouldn't say he's a counter guy. He's a guy that drops a lot, that moves a lot, and that does a lot of things that seems like it work, but if you don't react, it doesn't work. So it's like actually the way to fight him next is imposing my style, putting my hands on him, and doing what I know what to do. It's not following him, not falling into his style of judo. It's focusing on what I can do to win that fight instead of like focusing on him.
Have you trained with him before at any camps or what have you?
I've trained with him in 2017, but since then he doesn't really fight with 73s. He doesn't want to show his game, I guess. But I've asked him a couple times when I saw him, and he was not fighting 73s. So yeah, I fought him once when he was 66, but not then, not after that.
How would you describe his ground game, his Niwaza?
I don't think he's that good in Newaza. I actually been told that he was not. He got caught a lot in Newaza. I wouldn't say it's bad because to get to that level, you have to be decent.
Right.
But like, I think I'm superior than him on the Newaza game, so it would be something to exploit maybe the next time I fight him.
Right on. So he catches you with an Osotogari, and you move on to the bronze medal match against Macias from Sweden. This is a tough match, lots of back and forth,
Yeah.
and it goes to the golden score. It goes to golden score. Speak to us about the match. Give us kind of a summary of it.
So that guy is literally like he's one of the guy I fought the most in my career since junior. I think we fought like 10 times or more together in actual tournaments. Wow. So he's a guy I know really well. He knows me really well. So it was, I knew what to expect. I know what to do. And I just did what I had. Like, I wouldn't say I did my best fight against him, but I did what I had to do to win that fight. Like, I put my hands, I did attacks only if I wanted, because he's long and going around you and make you feel uncomfortable to do like one half attack, and then he take advantage of that missed attack or half attack to counter you on the back and or throw you on the side. And he does also good like bear hug and stuff like that. So I knew it was going to be a hard fight. I knew what I had to do: keep my distance, put my hands on him, move, and attack 100% when I was going to attack, and almost catched him a couple times. He almost catch me a couple times. I think I was losing actually on the Shidos for like, I think I got one for having blocking the grip, which I was not intending to do, but ref saw it that way. Then I made him like, I think I got another one. I don't remember exactly for what, and like I made him take one just before I scored on non-combativity or got off the mat. I don't remember exactly, but eventually ended up fighting. He's trying to go over on the wrong side, and he went on the wrong way because I just catched him right as he was trying to go over me. Catched him on the Kosotogari and threw him on his back. So it was a nice exclamation point on that 2 weekends.
For sure. I mean, you got the bronze there, and previous to that, 6 days prior, you got the silver in Georgia. Now, just wanted to know, I have a set of questions to ask you just in general. You actually answered a lot of them as we went along, so that's great. But I wanted to know, you mentioned you're two different people in training. You're one person, and when you're in your competition, you're clearly somebody else. Mm-hmm. What do you find more challenging in like what's more challenging, training or competing? And I don't mean training as in attending, your daily routine of training, but as in like the pace of training, the travel, the mindset, and just life in general. What's more of a challenge for you, training or competition?
Well, it's different because I train with a purpose of improving. In a tournament, I fight to apply what I learn in training and having fun. So for me, it's like mostly having fun at tournament because you get to apply. It's like the training is a rehearsal, and the big show is the tournament. So you get to apply what you actually worked for so long. So I would say the more challenging would be the. It's hard to answer that because like I don't want to say that it's easy tournament, but like it's if you did all your homework, the exam is easy. But like it's like people like sometimes you see those people that perform and have a flawless performance in the tournament, and they say, "Wow, they're so over everyone," and it's so amazing seeing that. But like actually, if they like, I like to see it as an iceberg. You only see the little tip of the iceberg, which is the performance,
Right.
which is pleasant but really hard. Still, it's not easy. But you see all the under the water, you see all the sacrifice, the injuries, the time I said no to my friend, the time I said I didn't went on vacation because when I was younger, because now there's always tournament, but like the time, like all those sacrifice, the little injuries, the school postponed, like and taking longer to take, people telling me, oh, you're seeing my friends getting like married and having kids and all those things. We don't get to experience that until after the career. So I would say that the most like draining would be training, but the tournament is actually fun, even though it's hard. So I don't know if I
Oh, you've answered it. Yeah, I know you totally answered it, and you even added context as to why I'm even asking that. I think as fight fans, of judo and other combat sports, in any sports, especially for competitors, elite level competitors like yourself, who are competing at the international level, we only see the competition and that crazy, throw and in the highlight reel, and so much can be extrapolated by that one moment of like just judo magic and just athletic performance, but we don't see the whole picture, as you mentioned, that great analogy of the iceberg, of course, where you see the iceberg, but underneath you don't see everything else that play. Quick follow-up for you on that question. What motivates you? And I know this is a common question that's asked to every athlete and is probably annoying, but what motivates you to compete? What motivates you to go out there and train and get into that zone and get after your objective?
I think I would give a typical answer, and it's obviously like that gold medal that everybody is aiming for. I would say that for sure is the ultimate goal, but there's also the enjoyment of doing that sports. Like it's something that we do for like it's so small partial part of our life that like you have to enjoy all those times, because eventually your body is obviously telling you that it's done.
Right.
So yeah, it's like also like seeing it as I think as I'm telling now, I've done more of my competition career that is left. So it's just having fun and like actually like making you realize that we're lucky to be able to do that. And as I said, the gold medal is the goal, but it's also for me, it's having fun doing what I like.
Now, you mentioned in the interview that you've added to your arsenal. You're continuously looking at ways to improve yourself as a judoka, and also in terms of your mindset, your focus, and so on. What area? And you've been very honest with in this interview, I find. So thank you very much for your time and your honesty. That aspect of self-improvement. What other aspects of your game would you want to improve? Like, are there other things that you see? I'm sure you watch your matches, right? You study yourself, you study your opponents and so on. what aspects of your game now are you trying to focus on some more? Well, what are your coaches telling you that you need to focus on, and so on?
Well, I would say that like the most critical person I have in my around me aside from me is probably my dad. So
He's a judoka as well, right?
yeah, exactly. So he's been following me since I'm one of the well, obviously he's my dad, so he's been following me all my career, but like he's been helping me so much throughout all my career. Sometimes even too much, but like I love everything he did for me. But yeah, so even when I do well, there's always things you do wrong, and um, I think there's never a perfect performance. There's always mistakes. There's always things to adjust, and as I didn't even win those tournaments, I have a lot of things to get better at until that objective, which is the games. Uh, I have good game on Newaza, but it can be better. I have good game Tachiwaza, but it can be better. I have a good focus, but it can be better. Everything can be made better, and I think that's the key of success is never taking anything for granted and thinking you're good enough. Is always making you go further and work even harder to get better, 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 and better. There's never a perfection. It doesn't exist perfection. You always have to work harder and get better at everything. To like, it's like sometimes like I'll make a joke. I always say to my conditioning coach, like, yeah, I'm too strong. I have to do other things. I'm too strong at that. So you're never too strong. You can always get stronger.
For sure, yeah. No, it's a continuous process. You seem like obviously you're a competitive person. May I ask who's the most competitive person on the national team? Who's like that one person that's like the epitome of like the most competitive with everything, with everything?
Aside from me,
sure, yes.
I would say Shaddy. I say Shaddy is one of the most competitive, the one of the guy that want to achieve the most. Like it, like sometimes, like yeah, I would say Shaddy. Like even in like any kind of sport, sometimes we play soccer and like Shaddy and I like we're good friends, and I'm gonna get into arguments with him because like I was like, no, it's not a goal. That's not a goal. What are you saying? And we get actually into arguments. And after we shake hands, and we're like, yeah, it's okay, you were right, or something like that. But I have good moment with Shaddy talking about like some outside of judo and in judo, like we have it's pretty funny.
Within the squad, the team, and so on, who's the most who's the funniest person? In your opinion, who's that like that one person that brings people up using humor? You know, I'm sure you guys are traveling all over the world. There's moments of boredom, moments of frustration, moments of whatever, right? There's a range of emotions, I would imagine. And who's that one person people can count on to make them laugh or smile or bring up their spirits?
As it's funny because like as you were explaining what you wanted to actually like make me say, I thought about Moab, the brother of Shadi.
Okay.
Like it's funny because like I said, oh, who's the funniest? Then I was like, oh, who's the funniest? I don't know who's funny. Like I say, I'm pretty funny, but I'm not that funny. But then I realize everything that Moab does, and like sometimes he does the most crazy things.
Like what? Like what?
It just like I don't like. I don't know. Like,
tell me a story. Tell us a story.
What did he do like recent? There's a song like in it's a Quebec song, and like he has the tendency of always doing the same thing. so much. So like during that last tournament, he was always singing that song like "Non, ça va, je vais marcher," and we were like, "The hell are you saying, Mohab?" And like, it's a song, it's so good song. And then he's like you're just talking, and they're like, "So how you like you want to ask?" He ask me if you want to lift. I'm said, "Mohab, we're not having cars. Just ask me if I want to lift." Then I said, "Do you want to lift?" He said, "Non,
No,
ça va, je vais marcher."
that's awesome, man. He sounds like quite a character, man.
Yeah,
These
it's
two,
like
Shadi and Moab, they seem like quite some characters. I wanted to know who's your number one nemesis, because right now I believe you're ranked in number
yeah.
five in the world ranking and the Olympic ranking. Who's that? Who's your number one nemesis? If you could envision like facing this person for the gold medal match at the Olympics, who would that person be?
Uh, the one I have the most difficulty against, or like
The
the
most difficulty and would mean the most to beat for you in the grander scheme of things.
Hmm. Yeah. So I would say Ono, which is the Olympic champion, world champion, didn't lose since like 2013. Well, he lost to me, but it's because he injured himself just before fighting me, and he actually didn't end up fighting. So, like in the record, it says Arthur Margelidon won, but that's completely untrue. I never beat that guy. Um, but like he's like the top athlete that everyone expect to win at the games, and I without saying like, yeah, I know how to beat that guy, I'm better than him, it's like it's not that at all. I know he's top notch, but as I said, nobody's perfect, everybody makes mistakes. And I think it would mean so much to me to just get at those games in the final and beat that guy that everybody think could would win. And throughout all my career, I was a lot of times I was like uh, pushed down or like told like yeah, you won that, but it was easy, or like I always heard those comments about
From
the.
who, man? Who the hell is saying that?
I can't say names.
Fair enough, but is it?
I don't want to. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm just because I'm hearing that, and you know, as spectators, we see you guys compete, and you're kicking ass, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You drop that guy, your homeboy, pass you broke him. Changing him. I'm telling you, anyways. Okay, I'm getting carried away. So it's just when I hear that, to me, I'm just like, who's saying that? But I don't need to know the name. I guess it's a very competitive circle. Sorry, continue. Please continue.
Yeah, so like it's that like that's it. Like, I'm not gonna name names, but like it's just like I always liked. Actually, I loved proving people wrong. So throughout all my career, like let's say someone tells me like I'm gonna take a complete different example. You can't dunk. Well, I'm gonna show that person I'm gonna dunk, and I'm gonna without saying bad words like I was going to say, but I'm gonna dunk. And I always love to prove people wrong. And like actually, like I know people, everybody expect Ono to win, but I know I can beat him, and I would love to prove that and put like action into words. So it's just a matter of like we'll see at the game, and I'll be ready for sure.
Very interesting, man. Now, I was going to ask you what's the best advice you've ever been given in terms of judo advice, but I'll ask you what's the best advice you've ever been given, and what's the best advice because you mentioned your dad as someone very instrumental in your judo career. Obviously he's your father, he's a judo himself. What's the best advice he's ever given you?
Well, so I'm gonna say one that I was told actually after I missed the game in 2016, because I was qualified to go and it broke my arm, and it was such a disappointment. And like you know when you work so hard for something and you actually don't achieve it because of something that you don't control. Like I was completely like beat when that happened, because you're like, I worked 4 years, 4 years for that, and boom, and I was like, I was so mad at everything, and at everything I could have done for not that to happen. And I remember my dad actually told me, so now you have two options. You either cry about it, which would be understandable, and like but he didn't say cry about it. Like you either let yourself go and you completely gave up on like something that's obviously horrible that you didn't control. You can go that path, or you go the other way and you take that as a motivation and a stepping stone towards your next event. And since that happened, I've had the best result in my career. Like it's 4 years where I was ranked in the top 10 of the world during those 4 years. So like I've obviously like still have stuff to improve, but that thing that like always remember what you miss on is something that my dad told me, and I could have gone easy and just say, okay, well, what if it happened again, or like it's such a bad thing, like and I would have had the right of saying that and just give up. But like I think just pushing through, and it helped me become a better person in judo, but also as a person in life, like not giving up when it become hard. It just hard is just what makes you better. So if you actually push through those things, you're gonna get better and you're gonna get something out of it. If everything's easy, you're not learning anything.
Right.
Like you have to go through those hard moments to actually learn something and improve as a person and I as an athlete. And I think it was a big moment in my career, I would say. I took a horrible experience and made it a stepping stone for the rest of my career.
That's incredible, man, because quite frankly, I'm generalizing when I say this, but for some people, like, hardships like that become that hurdle in their own personal and professional development. You know what I mean? It becomes, unfortunately, because it's potentially a traumatizing experience, right? It's,
Yeah.
it limits them from overcoming and building that sense of resilience and that sense of commitment, and that hard work. Because uh, let's face it, there's so many challenges in life, and having that ability to be resilient and still move forward, not everybody has. And this is why it's always interesting to speak to competitors, like yourself. We're competing at the highest level in the world for one of the toughest combat sports, quite frankly, because it seems that, as you mentioned, even in some of these matches you've had, all it takes is one small, tiny second or one error. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
catch someone or surprise them, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. That was a really interesting piece of advice from your dad, who's also someone who's trained in the sport. Outside of that, what's another piece of advice someone's giving you, besides your dad, as a coach, ever giving you a piece of advice that's changed your perspective of self, or of the sport, or how you apply a particular technique? Have you had that?
As a uh, as a coach, I have
Or a teammate,
yeah. Well, as a coach, I would say as I take a lot from Janusz Pawlowski. Every time he talks, I listen, because he's been through so much big events. He's been medaling throughout all his career. I even think like he should have won that gold medal in the Olympics in Seoul, if I'm incorrectly. But like every time he talks, I would say is the guy that technically when he talks, I listen, and I listen really carefully because he has so much to bring to that sport and to anyone that is willing to listen.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say like I call him maestro
Mm.
as a master, but like
Right.
it's a joke because he was getting called maestro since prior to coming in Canada. He was
In Italy, right?
he was in Italy, and
Right, right.
he actually yeah. So I wouldn't put one advice he told me, but like it's a generalization of everything that he says. uh if it's movement, like he like one of the biggest advice he gave me is like always like make your opponent react and act as a wave motion. Like as your partner go up, you go under and you lift him. Like there's always like there's he's so good on technical advice that like I would say so many things that he teach me. Every time he talks, I listen. That's the only thing I'm gonna say.
For sure. And now, of course, we are in the month of May, right?
Yeah,
Can you believe it? It's already May. Time is just flying by.
yeah.
And, the Olympics are more or less around the corner. What's on your agenda? What's happening these days? And where are you at?
So I just got back of quarantine, as I said at the beginning.
Right.
So I have 1 week of training, and like I said, like you deal with what you have. So I just did a month of quarantine. Let's say it's like recovering. I did recovery during that time, and so next is the World Championship because I would have liked not to go, but like I'm not a person that leave things to chance, and it's a selection still, and uh, the official world the Olympic selection would be done after World Championship. So I'm gonna have to go and just keep that spot of in the top eight, and I don't want to let anyone pass in front of me in the top eight. I want to be my seated place as I always has in the past 4 years. Sorry. So I'm gonna go to World Championship. Then we come back, and it's like towards that. It's preparation towards the Olympic Games, which is gonna be like I think I'm gonna have 6 or 8 weeks before Olympic Games after those World Championship. I don't exactly remember correctly, but it's coming. Like it's coming.
Right.
It's right around the corner.
Right. It really is, man. And I want to wish you all the best at the World Championships. Obviously, we'll be watching, the world will be watching. Last question for you, since I've asked you a lot about
Yeah.
advice. What advice would you give to any young judo player who dreams of competing internationally and pursuing the same goals that many of you are pursuing? What sort of advice would you give that individual?
I would say similar to what I got as an advice is like never give up. It's not because it's going bad. You have a bad training, you have a bad year, you have a bad 2 years, you have a bad 3 years. What you do as a junior cadet, all that, like eventually doesn't matter. It's all about what you do after, and like it's always worth it when you reach what you actually wanted for so long, that like don't give up because of a little incident or something like that. You just have to keep going and get what you really want. Like you have to never give up until you actually reach what you want. It would be as simple as that.
Right on, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. You've been very generous with your time, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. There's a
I did
a
too.
lot of honesty, a lot of insight, and you're a very interesting person. And I wish you all the best at the World Championships coming up soon.
I appreciate it. It's really nice of you.